Hello everybody, this is Make It Better, and today we're doing what deku was a singer slash idol part 21. Yes, I do remember. I'll explain what has happened and why I'm late at the end of the video. So if you want to hear all that, just skip to the end. But let's get into the story, shall we? Now after Zuko and Naai finished it, I believe I stopped it at that part where he was talking about his quirk and how it works. Naai is somewhat happy with this kind of quirk and can't really seem used to it, but let Zuko go out and just train with his quirk for now. About 2 weeks has passed, and Zuko, well, the first day he was there, he saw Muriel's moves from going all happy-go-lucky kind of person every single day to very glum and not talking to anybody. And everybody around him is starting to talk about how Muriel used to be and how he acts now, which gives Zuko a sense of wanting to help, but he doesn't know how to. When he talks to Muriel every time, he either blow him off or just tell him that he's fine. But Zuko knows the feeling of someone losing something or some sort, because that's how he's acting throughout everybody else. So Zuko, during this time, is over in his classroom it's getting close to lunchtime. And Zuko, in class, in one of their free periods, talks about his work study with his friends. Ida, Uraka, and Jiro. And Jiro's friends as well. When Zuko come up with Muriel, they say, "Oh, the guy that beat us up, right?" Zuko said, "Yeah, him. He seems down for some reason, and I want to try to cheer him up, but I don't know how. Well, I don't think I can do it." Which the three looks at each other and then looks at Zuko. Zuko sees this and asks, "What?" And Jiro said, You can affect them with your songs. Just sing them a song." And Zuko said, "Oh, god damn it, I'm so stupid. Well, thank you, but I don't know when is a good time. Because we have to work so much in the work study that I don't really have time to sing him anything that will help." And Oraka and Ida said, "How about you do a little concert for his classroom for lunch?" I think Aizawa said that the third years have an earlier lunch than us, right? They look over to Aizawa, ask him the question, and Aizawa answer it not knowing any of this. And it's true. So Zuko takes this note and thanks them and went to his notes. Now, Zuko, for the past few months of school and all the songs that he'd been writing down in random notes, was getting a little annoying. So he developed a notebook of music ideas or notes. And it would be the first volume, and he lets 5 pages free for each and every song and its details and how it's going to be sounding like. And he'd been doing this for quite a while. So he opened up a new page and wrote up some songs that he thinks will be perfect for Mario. So he got some ideas and, well, thanks his friends and thanks Jiro with the idea. And they just wave him off as he's going off earlier in lunch. Aizawa asked Zuko where he's going. Zuko said, "I'm trying to help out a friend." And he left. And Aizawa, not caring as much right now, let him go in his own devices. Zuko going up to the third year's level and asking around where is Class A. These teens don't really understand why a little kid seemingly a first year would ask around, but they didn't really mind because they're focused on their own work. But they all pointed towards the room, and Zuko thanked them and went off. As he was walking off, some of them are whispering about, is that the kid? Is he? No, it can't be. Is that Skull? And it spreads some rumors. Well, whispers in each classroom thinking that it's Skull. And probably thinking it's just a double gainer that looks just like him, and so on. Zuko knocked on the door, and when he opens it, there's a lot of kids exiting the room because it's lunchtime. When he let them pass, it was about 5 people leaves because they have brought their own lunch in their own school. So the rest of the class is in the classroom, talking and basically socializing. Zuko haven't done this before. Gets a little nervous because he never uprightly made a concert in front of them. All he brought was his violin. So he looks and finds the teacher, asks him if he could do something for this classroom. The teacher is a little against about it, but asks him about his quirk. Zuko explained and saying that he's class 1A and I'm Skull, which some of the students recognize. Zuko finally getting the permission with the teacher to perform a song for them. And some people have questions about this. Now, Muriel, Nejire, and Sun Eater is in their own area / in the background in their own world, not talking anything. They're more focused on Muriel and try to cheer him up and all these with jokes, his power, everything, but nothing is cheering him up until they hear a string of an instrument being plucked. I don't have one on me right now, so I can't make it. But when everybody finally got was looking for the sound, they see Zuko. Zuko introduced himself that his name is Zuko Midoriya from Class 1A, or you might know me as Skull, as 5 people got up and saying, "It is you!" And they crowd around him asking for autographs, pictures, all that kind of stuff. And then when everybody else asks them what's going on, they answer and, show videos of how Zuko's actually really famous around the world and so on. Muriel and Nejire and Sun Eater looks over, see a commotion because the rest of their classmates are seemingly more happy than they ever are for lunch. So they walk up, Nejire walks up asking what's going on until she sees Zuko. And she said, "Oh, you're that kid that Muriel beat and kept getting up." It's, and Zuko answered, "It's Zuko Midoriya from Class 1A." And she said, yeah, you. "Oh, what are you doing here?" And Zuko actually answered and went to her group, seeing Muriel and saying, "Nejire, I'm actually here for him." He quieted down for no one can hear them because they're more talking about him and what he has done on all of his songs and also showing videos. It's been 10 minutes since that happened. During that time, Zuko is just in the background talking to the little group of the big 3. And Muriel asking Zuko why is he here for, as in his gloomy self. Zuko said, "I seen how you act around everybody when we first met. All happy-go-lucky. Am I right? As he looks to his two friends and they agree, Zuko said, "And I have seen you being all gloomy now, and I want to help you with this instance." Which Muriel just set him aside, says, "Do whatever you want, just leave me out of it. I just need some time to think." And Zuko said, "Alright, I'll do 2 songs, and then I'll go." Which Muriel said, "Fine." But Zuko said, "But I need you to hear the songs. Can you please do that for me?" Which Muriel waved him off and said, yeah, I can." Zuko said, "Alright, here we go." He gets everybody's attention by 2 claps. Everybody looks over and Zuko said, "Now, since it's all was last minute, I want to do 2 songs and I'll leave you guys to it. Is that alright?" Is everybody, well, the 5 that actually knows him, is cheering because they get to hear Zuko live concerts for the first time. Everybody else is also excited because the 5 students hype him up so much, so they want to hear it. So Zuko cleared his voice, put up his instrument, and start singing. So, he actually tells everybody to introduce themselves, for Zuko's quirk will be affected on them. They say their names. Zuko takes us in and said, "Okay." He lists down every person's name, especially Nejire, Muriel, and Sun Eater, into this song. He starts singing, and to their surprise, the ones that never saw him use his quirk or even how he performs, that he's making all of these sounds, instruments coming from him with no backgrounds, no strings attached, and it's very impressive. And the first song he plays is here. This one.
You don't have to be alone all by yourself. Tired of doing things just to save your mental health. You made a wish and then you lost it down to wishing well. But when you're with me, there's no need to be. So tell me, is there somewhere else that you wanna go? 'Cause you've been running round in circles, stuck in slow-mo. I've got that feeling that you really wanna hit the door. If you lost the fight, then let's win the war. When you're tired of fighting and you gotta run, hop right in, sit shotgun, I'm driving, I'll be your protector. Who's gonna be there when everything is tumbling down? Who's gonna be there when you fall to keep you off of the ground? I'll be your shelter, they'll never get you. So stay with me and I'll be your protector.
It was at that point everybody felt and remembered the reason why they became heroes, and it really affected all of them in different ways, especially Muriel, Nejire, and Sun Eater. Sun Eater, remembering how his friend Muriel encouraged him to be the best that he can be with his quirk and encouraging him. Nejire, in her backstory, having a friend being there and supporting her throughout thick and thin, losing her friend, but still keeping that ideals to become a great hero. And for Muriel, getting help from everybody around him, showing him what he needs to be to become a great hero. And the first step was to overtake his quirk and make it into a positive thing. And it just brings warmth and joy to everybody in the classroom. After the song was about over, they get a hang of it and start singing along to it, all the way till the end. Zuko looks at everybody, seeing how they're more of a good mood. Zuko also say, "Now this next song is a kind of dark, but it's needed here. And this, Muriel, is for you."
Would anyone notice if tonight I disappeared? respect so much that I just might break. All consuming, so confusing. The questions that keep me awake. Would anyone care? Would anyone cry if I finally stepped off of this ledge tonight? Would anything change? Would you all be just fine? Cause I need a reason to not throw the fight. It just might save my life.
And with that song, it brought Muriel into tears, starting to cry emotionally, fully entranced by this very song, the notes that it is hitting. Look it up, it's a really good song. It really helps out to bring out the emotion. I sometimes hear it just to bring it out. But when Muriel was crying, the class looks over to Muriel, he never remembering him crying, always in a good mood, always with a bright smile, which kind of angers towards Zuko of making their favorite classmate to cry, until they look at Zuko and him tearing all the way from his eyes to his face onto the ground. And Zuko is putting in more passion into the song, where he cracks in his voice, in his music, but also making it more effective. And when the song was over, Zuko stepped down from where he was, walks towards Muriel, and said, I don't know what you're going through. No one does, unless you tell us what's going on. I can't force you, but I can make you release your emotions. If you keep holding it back, it would just hurt you more. You have friends, the ones that are here, the ones that cares. As he looks at Nejire and Suneer, and Muriel looks at them both and looks down and starts crying even harder. And Zuko saying, don't think that you are going through something. You can always go along with someone else. You have someone else to lean on. You cannot be the only one to go through it. As he says this, he leaves without saying a word. And they hear a rumble of crying in the classroom. Some of the classmates cry for Muriel, not knowing what's going on. But Muriel, after his crying session, that's almost lunchtime is almost over. Zuko went to his friends and just ate lunch with his eyes red, seemingly as if he was crying, not telling his friends what really happened. But in Muriel's classroom, after the crying session, Muriel feels so much better, like a whole weight of his shoulders finally released, feeling so much more calm and so tired. And the rest of the period, lunch period, he actually fell asleep in the most happy-go-lucky kind of smile that he always gives. I just wanted to put that in there because I have some plans for Zuko in that classroom, and I think it'll be good if I do that. Anyway, let's get back into the story. Now, another week has passed, and it's a Monday. Zuko went over to his station, train station, see his friends, Kirishima and Araka with Suyu. He waves hi at them and talked to them about their work studies, and they were all told that they were going to a new location, which Zuko understood until one right turn everybody goes, and then another turn, until they are meeting up at the same exact building, which gave them a confused look. They walks in, seeing Nagai and their professional pro heroes as well in there. They took a seat, and this is at the point where they learn about Overhaul and his bullets, learning that it has blood, and giving the hint that it was made by a child that was met with Mirio at this certain day. And they look over to Mirio, which he felt more guilt, but not so much that's weighing on his shoulders, just showing on his face. Zuko said, "Oh, Mirio," as everybody else feels bad for him. Now I explain about all the details and how it's gonna go, until Rocklock chimes in and asks why are all of these kids here and why they need to be here for this special mission. If you ask me, they're better off being as sidekicks and not being anywhere close to this place, especially Mirio or the Million. Which really pissed some of them off, but they said nothing and let him go off for a bit until Zuko can't take it anymore. He gets up, kind of scaring some of the kids there, seeing Zuko moving over to Rocklock, as Rocklock is making more comments on how these new heroes are so cocky and they can't do anything right. And he was going to place some more blame towards Mirio until Zuko stopped and grabbed his arm. No, his shoulder. Rocklock looks over to the kid that's in a green suit, asking, "What? Do you have something to say?" And Zuko, with nothing, no expression in his eyes, just whispered into Rocklock's ear and said, "Shut up," in a very deep tone, to a point where Rocklock, "Shut up," says nothing and just face forwards. Zuko leaves, take a seat, and the meeting went along all the way till the end, and Rocklock has not said a word. As some heroes were about to leave, Rocklock was not moving at all. Even his sidekicks and his hero agency's companions tried to move him out of the way and make him talk, but he's not saying anything. Until Zuko said out loud, "Release," in a very deep tone, made Rocklock come out of consciousness. He was there, but he was not able to speak, and he's trying to make signals, but nothing happened. The kid left a huge impression on Rocklock and left it at that. And for Rocklock not saying anything to the kid, nor to his partners or sidekicks, and just left, thinking this kid, he's scary, as he leaves. Now, moving over to the dorms, they were given some kind of news. They're learning that Ida is leaving UA for a week, which is a little surprising, but they're okay with. Asking Ida why, and his explanation was his family is taking a vacation of all of this and want to go somewhere. Zuko asked him, where are they going? And Ida said it's a top secret kind of thing. Zuko said, "Oh, okay. Here." And he gives him a few notebooks. Well, a notebook about language. Ida looks at this, confused, and said, "Well, what's this for?" And Zuko said, "It's, language for dummies, as you can say. It's how to speak in any kind of language in our native tongue to sound perfectly or even fluent." As he put some examples in French, which gave Ayama some pride. That's one of the hardest to pronounce. And then in Spanish for Sero, and a little bit of German and other stuff, which Ida appreciates and thanks him. As he went off, that will be the end for a while. Now, the up and coming days. They're in front of the fortress, the building itself. Should I do it or not? I thought it over, and I am gonna keep going. So, here we go. Before they were about to go, Naai looked to Zuko and said, "Will you please do the honors?" Zuko said, "Of course," as he sings a little song for everybody in the whole, raid to get a certain 2%, a 50%, what was it? Yeah, a 50% boost for everybody. That's affecting everybody's quirk, which some of them are unusually feeling, which they usually feel when they get a huge warm up after a training. But his classmates got used to it and are very grateful about this all, so they will be easier to maintain. Muriel feels this boost, finally feeling it, and thinks that this is going to be really helpful for his saving of Eri. So everything happens exactly the same. Some parts where Sun Eater is going against the three is defeating them all even easier, not as tired as he was originally. Rocklock, dang, it's getting hot in here. Rocklock and gets stabbed, but he gets a little healed a lot faster, where the blood doesn't drips down as fast as originally. And when he got stabbed in the gut, it showed blood, but it's not showing it bleeding out into his clothes, and he doesn't feel pain as much. Over to Kirishima and Fat Gum's fight. At the end of the fight, Fat Gum doesn't feel as tired as he would have been when he used his ultimate attack. And for Kirishima's unbreakable mode, he was able to move, but not completely. He was able to move slowly, and he felt his bones cracked and kind of broken, but he was able to walk, which really gave the other two some credit to these two, and thinking that they're very strong pro heroes, especially the kid, which Kirishima happily took the compliment, even thanking Zuko about his power up. Now over to Muriel's fight. It went exactly the same, all the way to the point where Zuko comes in, watching Muriel blocking the bullet path away from Eri, seemingly that Muriel has lost his quirk. But at that point, Zuko, in a blindly rage, went over and attacked Overhaul. After blow after blow and punch after punch, kick by kick, Overhaul was getting taken over, but not really, since he was still in his base form. When he was knocked back into his two commandments right next to him, he absorbs them, mix it up to himself, and become that huge monster, breaking the ceiling and trying to throw a huge rampage towards Zuko and Muriel. When Overhaul was attacking to Muriel was still able to dodge all of this, but he was still getting injured by everything, which leaves Eri thinking that it's all her fault, that she's trying to get back to Overhaul and making everything stop. But Zuko, and in a blind rage, finally snapped and started to scream and out all throughout the whole battlefield. Not like any kind of scream that you might have noticed. A high-pitched siren scream, to a point where even Overhaul, the one that was closest to him, covering his ears, making his ears disappear just to get rid of the sound. But since he's so close, the sound wave itself getting boosted by All for One, One for All, in his body, affecting his quirk into his voice, making a huge sonic wave into his ears, blasting it, which really is strong, to a point where it pushed Overhaul all the way to the other side of the building. Overhaul seemingly knocked out. Zuko went down and checked on Muriel and checked on Eri, and they both seemed safe. So Zuko grabbed onto Eri and asking her if she's okay. And she's trying to calm down, but she's starting to get a panic attack, and her quirk is starting to go up and out in her rampage. At this moment, Zuko was holding on to Eri, but Muriel was also holding on to her, trying to keep her safe and keep her calm. Zuko was thinking of doing something, but he can't. As he was about to say something, they were pushed on the side by Nai, and Nai got stabbed through the stomach by Overhaul, giving a huge sneak attack, surprising both of them, especially Eri, seeing that gruesome guts going everywhere by Nai, which Nai immediately goes down, passing out, which Zuko, in the blinding rage, and gives Eri crying out loud, using her quirk to the fullest, starting to affect Zuko's body. And Zuko, noticing some parts of his body is like regenerating a little too fast for him. He's starting to feel his bones going back in place and noticed that's Eri. So he tied her up around her back and asked Eri if she can control her power, which Eri is still screaming out loud and trying that she can't. I can't, as she's still screaming and leaving out a bunch of her power. Zuko powering up One for All in for 20% up to 30%. And with this boost of power, looks at Overhaul as Overhaul was trying to get away. Zuko, in a very menacing tone, not too deep, but just enough where everybody gets scared. And Zuko looks over to Overhaul and said, "You're not getting away," as he flies up to the sky and did a 25 to 30% Detroit smash into Overhaul's face, and a bunch of other kicks and punches towards Overhaul in the front, as flying down to the ground and punching Overhaul up in the sky again, and doing this over and over again until all of the body parts that was connecting are falling apart, all the way till it's the actual source of the body, to the point where Overhaul is laying down on the ground, trying to use his quirk for one last time to make a spike for the next coming attack. When Zuko was coming down from the top of in the sky, flying straight down, doing a Superman punch, Overhaul, using the last of his quirk, making a huge spike into the ground in front of his face, pointing at Zuko's face. And Zuko sees this. In his moment, in slow motion, he dodges. Overhaul cannot believe that he missed. But Zuko, with that moment of quiet, focused the rest of his punch into his fist, connecting with Overhaul's stomach, and making a huge crater down under, making a huge indent as well, going down into the sewers, to a point where Overhaul himself is fully passed out, not even showing signs of moving. Zuko still, after all this fight was going on, still remembers about Nai and runs over. But when he was trying to step forward, he can't move because Eri was still activating her quirk and still using it. Zuko is trying to calm her down and tell her to calm down. He is here. You can turn off your quirk, please, as he kept begging her. And she is responding that she can't. She can't, as she's tearing up and crying. Zuko said, "Can you hear me, Eri? Can you hear me?" As Eri is nodding her head up and down as she's screaming. And Zuko said, "Okay, good. Now listen to my voice very carefully." As Eri is kind of shakingly and looking over to Zuko right now. She's now getting cradled by Zuko, looking up into his face, and Zuko said the following phrase: "Go to sleep," in a very deep tone. And when Eri finally stopped her quirk, she feels so much calm going all over her. And as she opened her mouth, it was a huge yawn. After that moment, her heart rate was slowing down, and her eyes were closing 2 times, 1 time. And when it finally closed, she went to sleep. Eri is finally asleep, which shocked everybody around him that he just stopped a girl from overusing her power. And when Aizawa came by, saying sorry that he couldn't stop her in time, Zuko said, it's fine. Here, I need a check on Sir Nai. As Aizawa said, sure. As he took in Eri, holding her as if she was a baby. Well, technically she is. And taking her to the ambulance. Now Zuko looks over at Mirio and Nai and some others, as well as Rocklock, somehow coming out from the rubble of the building and standing over and seeing Nai seemingly dead. When the paramedics come by and try to save him, Zuko come by, just sitting on his knees and start singing a lullaby. As he's singing, everybody hears what he's saying. It's so soothing, but yet so heart-wrenching, where some of them are starting to cry, until they notice a bluish-greenish aura coming over them. Their scratches, their bruises, and some of their wounds are starting to heal. Not completely, but just enough where they don't feel the blood coming out of them. Rocklock is starting to have his wound almost fully healed, until Zuko passed out from exhaustion, giving that enough time for Mirio to almost fully heal, Rocklock to almost fully heal, and Nai to stay connected and stay alive for a little bit longer. Few hours have passed by. 2 days. Well, 1 day has passed. Zuko awakens, looks over to the doctor, and sees no one there. He gets out of his bed, feeling more tired, but still good. He tries to open the door. As he opens the door and sees Mirio coming down the hallway, Zuko calls out for Mirio, as Mirio runs towards Zuko, giving him a hug, and thought he was dead or was saying all of this other stuff. Which Zuko said, no, I'm fine, but I'm parched. Can you give me some water? My throat is a little dry. As Mirio said, yeah. Here. As a few hours passed by, and Zuko regained his strength and everything, until he remembers, where's Nai? Is he alright? Is he still alive? And Mirio said, yeah, let me just show you. And Zuko was taken towards Nai's room through the glass. But when Mirio was there, the doctor let him through, and so Zuko did. When going through the room, it's very dark, gloomy, and everybody in the room, that everybody, even All Might is there, looking over at Nai and all these tubes in his gut, in his stomach, and having a breathalyzer on his mouth, breathing heavily. Izuku looks over and asks the doctor how long has he been like this, which they say ever since the battle. And Izuku said, okay. Muriel, by any chance, do you know his full name? As Muriel said, no, I only know his pro name. And Izuku said, okay. He looks over to All Might, asks him the question, do you know his full name? Sir Nai, full name. Which All Might said, yes, I do. Wait, can you fix him? And Izuku said, I don't know if I can, but I can make it last longer. Can you please give him his name? As All Might does. Izuku looks over to the doctors and asks them if they could take away all the tubing that's in his stomach for a moment. As they say no, if they remove it, he will immediately die. Which Izuku points over to All Might and asks All Might to lift his shirt. As All Might does, and shows a huge scar, and All Might explaining about his story. How he had a scar for so long and kept going until this kid helped him. It was fully healed after this kid finally upgraded his quirk. And I believe he can do the same with Sir Nai here. As the doctors understand this, with the pro number 1 hero, All Might, in the background, they said yes. So they took away as much tubing as they can where he won't immediately die. So Zuko starts singing. Zuko say the name. This is for this very single. One song for Sir Nai, full name. Pro Hero Nai. Please, can you hear me? As Nai moves like his finger just a bit. And Muriel giving the signal to Zuko to start singing. Zuko starts singing. A very long, where this one actually took 3 to 6 minutes long of a song. And it's so heartwarming that it affected everybody in the room that wasn't supposed to be affected. Some of their wounds were getting healed, and some of the scars that they had for years started to disappear. And when they look over to Sir Nai, his wounds, his stomach was shown to everybody. And it shows slowly and extremely fast at the same time that his wounds and his organs was regrowing per se. All the way till Zuko passed out at a certain point. But Sir Nai, taking a huge breath, breathing heavily now, and taking in a lot more air, the doctors looks over and seeing that the skin tissue is not fully repaired, but they can see through his stomach and see all the organs fully repaired, and telling Sir Nai to please calm down. I don't know how this kid did it, but he gave you a second chance. Don't waste it. As Sir Nai don't understand this, he was immediately given knockout gas and put him back to sleep. The doctors are surprised by this kid's regeneration properties. How can they miss something so precious? But Zuko is fully knocked out, using up all his powers just to focus on one thing, since it's one of his weakest points. But that's all he can do. After that, he was taken to a room right next to Sir Nai's, and everybody was coming into his room, Sir Nai's and seeing how he's one day at the brink of death is now awake and not having so much tubing in his stomach. To their shock, the kid right next door helped him and make him sure that he will survive longer. And when Nai finally awakens, learns the truth, and thinks, I was about to kick him out of my... As he thinks to himself that this kid was not the best choice for all for one for all, the quirk. But he's just laying there thinking, if he did not accept him, what would have happened to him? Which was a scary thought, which gave him a tear falling down his face. And that, I say, is the end of this part. Thank you for listening. And now let me explain something. My family did, usually on last weekend, yesterday, I wasn't notified fast enough that we were going on a trip for the 3 days. And it was exactly on Friday where we were supposed to leave, but I didn't know that until I was clocking out, as I was going and doing my paycheck. So I got a little stressed out at that point. As we were coming back from the trip, I was still more tired of the trip because I didn't feel as relaxed as I should. And it was about 2 to 3 hour drive there and back. So yeah, 2 and 3 hours going there, spent the time, and then coming back about 2 or 3 hours. That would be basically everything. And next week you will get another video of this. And I believe that's all of it. Yeah. Well then, goodbye. Have a nice day. And see you next time.